Good afternoon.
Hello, Justin.
Today I'm in the presence of Jeffrey Haas, one of the founders of PLO, People's Law Office in Chicago, that started in 1969. That was a law office wanting to support the movement after recognizing what the 60s had entailed. What drove you to start People's Law Office?
Growing up in Atlanta, I never envisioned that I would start a law office that was represented the Black Panthers. But in 1968, I was in Chicago and there were riots and it was on television and it was talking about all these black kids getting picked up. And the mayor had actually put out a shoot to kill order. So somehow I went down to the police station that night and started representing these kids, most of whom were just out watching what was going on and missing school. So we and another man I met represented them and got them out on bail. The two of us and some others a year later started the People's Law Office. And we dedicated ourselves, we were a law collective, to helping people and people's movements. At that time in Chicago, it was the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. It was fighting against urban renewal, and it was fighting for the people who were against the war in Vietnam. We committed ourselves to those people in those struggles, and our office became a voice for them and the programs and policies that they were pushing.
So more specifically, how did People's Law Office invest in people's power?
Well, when we started, we had a lot to learn. And one of the deals we made, some of our clients, the Panthers and the Young Lords, we represented them, and some of their people came and staffed our office, and we worked together. And they gave us a consciousness that we didn't have, also a sensitivity to our clients, many of whom were Black and Hispanic. So from the get-go, we benefited from that connection. And then we got involved in actually their issues with the police when they got illegally arrested. And we would both represent them, but also be spokespeople for them.
As the next generation of issues arose, for instance, the war on drugs and crime exploded in Black communities, pushed by redistricting and redlining in Chicago, and then the huge AIDS epidemic. How did People's Law Office adjust to this form of violence from the state?
I think one way we were always fighting long-term imprisonment and incarceration. We also uncovered a police torturer who was putting people in jail after getting tortured confessions. And we worked with ACT UP, and they also worked closely with us. We marched with them. My first present to my wife was an ACT UP t-shirt that said "Silence equals death." And we were proud to work together. We understand, they also greatly increased our consciousness about the oppression of gay and lesbian communities.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it seems like you had the opportunity to kind of go throughout your life in a suburban household where you doesn't have to use your skills as a lawyer for particularly the movement. What kind of, besides the 1968 riot, what thing really drove you to kind of shift that trajectory towards being someone for collective liberation and using your talents for that?
I think it was seeing the social injustice in Chicago, the inequity, the racism, the unequal housing, the police brutality. Also, so much of the budget went towards the military at a time when we were dropping napalm on people in Vietnam and supporting death squads in Central America. So we supported all the people speaking out against those. I think that the inequality and the injustice was intolerant, and we felt like if we at least could commit ourselves and our talents to dealing with that, our life would be worthwhile.
How has People's Law Office, as the following generations, and as you have moved away from People's Law Office just because the transition to a different part of your life, and now you're focusing on Palestinian issues, what has the next generation of People's Law Office look like? And how has that changed somewhat from a white male dominated cohort into something else?
Well, we have been corrected by our young cohorts and the young attorneys who've joined us. And there are 3 lesbian attorneys who are among the leadership of the People's Law Office at the present time. They've made us much more sensitive to the issue of leadership, and in particular, Black feminist leadership, so that now we don't just connect up with male leaders of various movements, but we take leadership from particularly from feminist leadership in all of the movements that we support.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and really it again reaffirms this idea that the People's Law Office models itself after a society that wants to be grounded in social equity and anti-racism. And so I really appreciate you giving me some time this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Well, I just want to say, as one of my Inspire, Octavia Butler, said, it's really about change. And which side are you on? Are you supporting progressive change with your life? Are you trying to bring about equal justice for all? Or are you part of the status quo? Or someone said, you have a choice. You can either be racist or what is it? You're either anti-racist or racist. There's no in between.